That's good. Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Cisco U Theater. Clearly, you're here for the beer. So apparently, it's at 4 o'clock. So you can listen to me for a little while. If you get up and get a beer and come back, I will not be insulted. I find that's very kind of you. My name is Patrick Gargano. I'm a lead content advocate with Learning and Certifications, and I just wanted to have a little chat with you this afternoon about our new multi-cloud certifications. But I know we've had a lot of other sessions where they focused on the exam and the blueprint. We just had one a few minutes ago on the new ENNA exam. I don't want to do that. I want to show you guys the really cool content that we have in Cisco U to help you learn about this stuff. So I'll do that first, and then I want to do a bit of a demo, show you what the content actually looks like in Cisco U, and in particular, how the labs work. Because I think, between you and me, there's a lot of vendors out there that sell content. Some of the content is free, right? On YouTube, you can learn all kinds of stuff from all kinds of different people. The thing that really, stands out in terms of the Cisco content, the official Cisco content, from what I've heard and from my own experience teaching in the class, are the labs, the lab experience that you get. And I don't care if I'm talking here about an in-person, lab experience. So you're taking a class with one of our learning partners like Enter One or Global Knowledge or Fastlane, right? You're in a class with an instructor. We build that content and we build those labs. And it's the same content and the same labs that are available on Cisco U. So I just want to show you what that looks like. And in particular, I want to show you the labs that we've built for the new cloud connectivity course, the ENCC, because this is the course that for me anyways, that's the one I've worked on, so it's my baby. I'm really happy with the result, but I want to show you how incredibly impressive the labs are, how well they work, how quickly they spin up. These are not simulations. These are real labs running in a virtual environment, but it's real stuff. It can break. You can fix it. So I'd like to just show you a little bit about that. Okay, this was working a second ago. Let me just try that again. Okay, there we go. So like I said, I want to focus on the content, but the one thing I'd like you to understand is that the content that we build aligns directly to the exams themselves and the exam blueprints, right? So if you go to the Cisco website, the Learning Network website, you can download the blueprints, you can have a look at all the different topics, right? And like I said, we just had 2 sessions just before me looking at Thousand Eyes and the new network assurance exam. So we've got these 3 new multi-cloud certifications. There's 2 that are in the enterprise track, one's in the security track. I've been talking to loads of people about them. If you want more information, we can go to the wall, the certification wall over there, and show you where they all fit in, and we can do a bit more of a deep dive. But those are the 3, and very quickly, this one is all about connecting your on-prem, let's say, data centers and your branch locations to cloud services. This could be IaaS, right? So you're spinning up workloads in Microsoft Azure or AWS or GCP. It could be SaaS applications, right? So anything in the cloud, and we want to connect to it. Now, obviously, Cisco isn't AWS, right? So the ENCC certification in the course is all about how do you use your Cisco gear to build these connections up to those cloud providers. This one is all about security. As you can imagine, it's part of the security track, and it's focusing on securing the user, securing user data, securing the devices. So stuff like Duo, obviously SecureX, XDR. So that's the focus for that one. And then this one, we just announced it a couple of weeks ago. It's all about network assurance. Like I said, the 2 sessions just before mine focused on that. And focused on a big chunk of that course and that certification, which is Thousand Eyes, right? So that's what the 2 guys before me were talking about. This is, I don't know, dodgy. Again, I don't want to do a deep dive in the blueprints. I just want to show you that they exist. They're on the Cisco website. Very, very, very high level. This is the one that talks about ENCC, so cloud connectivity. So, without having to do a deep dive, right away, I get a sense of what's covered here. We do a bit of focusing on design. How do you design that connectivity, right, from your on-prem to those cloud services? And then how are you going to actually secure those connections? Are you going to go old school? Are you going to go traditional IPsec? Or are you going to go SD-WAN? Right? So you can see 50% of that exam and that content focuses there. And then there's a little chunk of the course that looks at troubleshooting and diagnostics. Right? So that's the ENCC one. The security one is a bit more. It's a bit more, right? It looks at, as I said a few minutes ago, user and device security. It looks at application security. There's a little bit of assurance in there as well. Obviously VPN and using IPsec connections through firewalls. So, but again, it's looking at all the security you need to put in place to build those trusted connections to your cloud providers. And then the third one, the brand new one that we announced a few weeks ago, which, as I said, the two guys before me talked about, it's the ENNA. Smaller blueprint, big focus here, if you were here for the two other presentations, Thousand Eyes. It's a huge chunk of Thousand Eyes content in that particular certification. There's a little bit more, there's a little bit of SD-WAN analytics, a little bit of Meraki analytics, a little bit of app dynamics, right? Just to give you a bigger picture of all the options, but it really is a focus on Thousand Eyes. So if Thousand Eyes is something that you work with or you're starting to work with, well, this is a cool certification to get because it'll feed into your CCNP enterprise track, right? So it's a good one. Like I said, I don't want to do a deep dive about that. What I want to talk about is the content that me and the folks in my bigger team work on. So I've got colleagues right now that are developing this course right here. I've got colleagues that are almost finished this one. We're running actually the first kind of test class in a couple of weeks, so this one's going to go live very soon. This one is live, and this is the one that I worked on myself, and so we'll look at that one. And like I said, I want to just demo a couple of things about it. So let's start with that first one. Cloud connectivity. Now, one of the things that we try to do as much as possible when we develop a new course or a new learning path is we look at the blueprint, and we try to create a course that obviously maps and aligns to it, but we try to build it that it's structured similar to how the blueprint is structured. And so trust me, the blueprint is structured like this. In other words, in the ENCC blueprint, there were 5 big topics. And look at this. Got 5 tracks for that learning path. And if you looked again, if you pulled it up on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, you'd look at the ENCC blueprint, you would see that the first track maps really well with the first topic in there. It was all about just kind of setting the scene. What is public cloud? What is cloud connectivity? What are the different deployment models, the different options out there? So it's a bit of a theoretical track, and it just kind of sets you off to understand a bit more about cloud and multi-cloud in particular. The second one maps with the second topic in the blueprint, and that one was all about design. How do you design cloud connectivity from your on-prem to cloud providers? And what I'm really excited about, in particular in this track, is what we did in here. So I don't know if any of you are interested in network design, and if you remember some of our older certifications called CCDA or CCDP. Anyone want to guess what that was replaced with in the new version of the certification? You know there is a design certification. Anyone know what it's called or the acronym? Don't worry about it. ENSLD. Actually going to try that exam tomorrow to see what it's like. But all I'm trying to get at is in that course, in the training for ENSLD, there's no labs where you configure a router or you configure a switch. It's a design course. So you need to learn how to design stuff. Layer 2, Layer 3, MPLS, quality of service. And the labs in that course are really interesting. They're all case studies. So you meet a customer says, I need this, and you sit down and you develop a plan and you design something. And I really like that idea. And so I thought we'd do something like that in here as well. We would actually have a case study where you learn how to design, how to interview that customer, how to gather the requirements for the customer, and then actually design the solution for that customer. So that's kind of a cool way to combine different approaches to doing lab work in a course. Again, if you keep looking at the blueprint, you would see that the third domain in the blueprint is over here. And as I said earlier, this one is like the old school IPsec stuff. And all I meant by that is that we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just looking at the different ways that you can build your IPsec tunnels from your data centers and your branch offices and connect them to transit gateways, connect them to AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP. So quite a few hands-on labs over here. We don't just stop with this, right? We don't just build the tunnel and say, well, that's done, I'll go for lunch, right? We got to do something with the tunnel. We need to send some traffic through it. But more importantly, we need to be able to route route some network routes through that, right? So we need to send some network updates or some routing updates. So what we do in this particular course over here is look at how to deploy OSPF or BGP and leverage those routing protocols through those tunnels to advertise workloads and networks that would be in the cloud to your on-prem and vice versa. So we build connectivity from one end to the other. This is all the SD-WAN stuff, right? So we look at how to kind of build out from your SD-WAN overlay and connect to AWS, Microsoft Azure. I know I keep repeating them, but those are the ones that are focused on in the blueprint itself. So we look at how to connect to the cloud that way. We look at how to leverage Umbrella SIG, and all the different security options that are available with that. Obviously, we have to look at a little bit of SaaS as well. So how do you establish those SaaS connections? And I'll be honest with you, when you start looking at SD-WAN and you're using vManage or the new name Manager to do all this, it's all done with workflows and almost like wizards, right, to guide you through building out this connectivity. So we look at how that happens. And then, as I said, once the connectivity is up and running, maybe you need to tweak it a little bit. You need to do some stuff about how the topology is going to be, what the traffic flow is going to be. Are you going to allow traffic from this branch to go to this one, or does it have to go through the data center before going back down again? So we look at how to deploy those policies. And then we have a little bit of app QoE as well. So it's a new feature in SD-WAN. It just looks at ensuring that the customer and your employees have the best quality of experience when they're using Microsoft Office 365 or SAP or anything in the cloud, basically. And loads of hands-on labs here as well. And then the last one is probably the one I like the most, is the troubleshooting one. It's all about diagnostics, fixing things. And so what we did with this one, we've got hands-on labs for fixing IPsec issue, fixing routing issue, fixing SD-WAN issues. And what's quite cute, what we've done here is that we've taken the same labs that you did over here, and we've spun them up, and then we broke them, and then you have to fix them. Right? So that's the approach around our troubleshooting labs. And I'll come back to this one in just a sec. I'll demo just a couple of labs for you as well. So before I wrap up here, I think probably the most important takeaway that I have for you, so here we go. Are you familiar with OSPF and BGP? Familiar with IPsec? Interested in SD-WAN? If you say yes to all of that, this is the thing for you, honestly. Like, it brings all of that together. So this isn't an OSPF or BGP deep dive, right? We have other courses that do that. It's not an SD-WAN deep dive. We've got another course for that. It's not an IPsec. So you see what I'm getting at? This course is actually leveraging knowledge that you have over the years of these different things, like a puzzle, and it's putting it all together into this one certification. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Last thing I want to say before we look at the other two, though, is right now on Cisco U, I feel like this is a TV advert or something. Right now on Cisco U, if you log in for free, this whole track is available for free right now. So you could go in and just have a look at it, right? Start learning a little bit more about multi-cloud and how to connect to these different types of services based out of this particular track here in this course. So far, so good. Any questions? Yeah, please. So thank you. So the stuff that you used to buy on Learning Network Store is in Cisco U. Right, there you go. Yes, yeah, it's over here now. Yeah. So that's the first one. So like I said, this is my baby. I worked really hard on this one. We've just released it. Really happy with how it turned out. Really happy with the way that it maps with the exam. I took the exam a couple of months ago when it came out, and again, it's just really, really well done, I think, in terms of giving you an experience that will prepare you. Listen, we don't want to create a course that focuses on just teaching to the test, right? That's not the point here. This is for knowledge. This is for your growth in terms of what you're doing at work. But we want to make sure that we're doing as good a job as possible to get you ready for that exam. And I think we did this here. Like I said, I'll demo a few bits and pieces in just a second. This is a security one, so SCA. So I'm from Canada, French Canadian, so I'm going to say Z. No, I'm going to say Z. No, hang on. SZZ. Yeah, Z for Canada. So SCAZT. No, Z. Anyways, one of those two. So this is what the learning path looks like for this particular learning track. It's quite big, lots of labs, and it exposes you to a bunch of different security platforms and solutions that are available to help, as I said, secure your cloud connectivity. It's a little small, I'm sorry. There was so much to put on this slide here. Obviously, so this whole thing is going to be in Cisco U again. Again, if you go on the Cisco Learning Network website and you open up the exam blueprint for this course, so the SCATs or SCAZT, guess what? There's 6 domains, so we created 6 tracks to try to map as closely as possible to these different tracks or different domains. The first one is all about architecture and the different methods and approaches that you can take to secure your cloud and secure your cloud connectivity. There's use cases, looking at reference architectures, looking at the safe architecture. So this just kind of gets you going, it just starts you off. And then we start looking at user and device authentication. So there's a bunch of things here, but I'm just going to kind of pull out some of the highlights, looking at AnyConnect, looking at Duo in particular. And again, I'm sorry, it's a little bit hard to read here, but trust me, that's what it says. The third one, it kind of shifts gears and it starts looking at a little bit of SD-WAN stuff and how we can use Umbrella and Umbrella SIG to secure those connections to the cloud again. So there's a combination of a couple of things. There's some on-prem security and some cloud security and a little bit of firewall. And hopefully you can see that, but the word lab is coming out, quite a lot in this particular course. Over here, we look more at firewall stuff. We're having a look at secure workload, and then obviously building policies for your secure connections. Then we shift to things like XDR, secure network analytics. I mean, it's a lot of different products, a lot of different tools and solutions that you can put in place for your multi-cloud. And then the last one is all about, again, kind of diagnostics, a little bit of troubleshooting, using different tools to kind of analyze threats and what you would do around that. So it's quite a massive one. And again, it comes back to what I was saying a second ago, right? So you probably have already a lot of IPsec knowledge, maybe ICE knowledge as well, maybe a bit of SD-WAN, some firewall, like I said as well before. Maybe you're starting to work with XDR. So these are all different pieces to that puzzle that kind of come together for this particular learning path. So again, this one's going to be going live at the end of the month. We're running the first test class in a couple of weeks. And so end of February, early March, the whole learning path will be in Cisco U. But again, I'm full of good news right this afternoon. So the first track is already in Cisco U, and you know what I'm going to say. It's available for free. So you can go have a look and see if you're interested in that kind of stuff in particular, right? And then the last one is the baby, right? It was just announced a few weeks ago. The one that focuses on network assurance. Like I said, the last 2 guys who spoke before me focused a lot on Thousand Eyes, and I kind of promised that was the case here. Again, if you look at the blueprint, guess what? There's 4 domains, so we kind of created 4 tracks here as well. Probably going to make this one available for free soon-ish. We're targeting the whole thing to be done by sometime in April and to go live on Cisco U. And again, like I said, it focuses a lot on Thousand Eyes. So you can see the middle chunk here is all about Thousand Eyes, lots of labs. So if you were here for the last 2 sessions, you would have seen Thousand Eyes in action. So you definitely do that here. The first track just kind of exposes you to a few different options besides Thousand Eyes. Obviously, it talks a little bit about Thousand Eyes, but it also looks at Catalyst Center or DNA Center, especially assurance. So a little bit of that, how you would use that to kind of use your assurance in terms of troubleshooting and helping you kind of diagnose issues with your DNA Center. Tiny little bit of App Dynamics, right, to kind of give you a bit of a teaser about what's available with that solution. Shifting gears into SD-WAN, so vAnalytics is focused here. And as I said, then you start really doing a deep dive into Thousand Eyes across a couple of tracks, and then wrapping up with a little bit of Meraki. And in particular, it's not like a big Meraki deep dive here. We're just looking at a specific part of Meraki, which is the Meraki Insights. Again, what we're trying to focus on in this course is network assurance. So what are the tools out there to help you look at your network and observe how it's behaving and where the issues might be and how you can fix those issues? The bar is open. So while I shift to the demo, if you'd like to grab yourself, I will not, if someone wants to bring one over to me, that's fine too. No, just kidding. Feel free to grab yourself a little drink if you want. So now just going back, I promised you guys I wanted to show you a bit of a demo of ENCC, because that's the one I worked on primarily. And I thought I would start with probably the thing that people are always asking me about. What do the labs look like? What do you do in the lab? And how do you do it and all this? So ladies and gentlemen, this is the lab topology for the labs in ENCC. All right, so all the labs are based around this particular topology. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. If you throw your mind back just a few seconds, when I talked about ENCC, first thing I talked about when it started getting into like the config stuff was IPsec. So how do you establish those IPsec tunnels from, let's say, a branch location to AWS, right? Build out some routing there and get traffic flowing. So we had to do that. So we've got a little branch location over here, a little Cat 8 KV running legacy software, just regular iOS XE, called it branch 3. And in the labs, you kind of build the VPN tunnels up to our friend AWS up here. We do that in a couple of different ways. Initially, you do it with the transit gateway, and then we do it by spinning up a Cat 8 KV up there as well, and then building the tunnel that way. And so that first, this was track 3, kind of focuses all on stuff happening in this branch location. Then track 4, if you remember, was all about SD-WAN. So obviously we needed an SD-WAN overlay for you to work with and play around with. And it's all this stuff over here and these guys over here. So when you access this lab, you have access to all of these devices, have an SD-WAN overlay that's built out between this little data center with a couple of WAN edge devices. These are all Cat 8 KVs. And we got a couple of branch locations, one with 2 WAN edge devices, one with 1, a couple of transports. And then you start working through those labs. And like I said, the lab primarily that you do with the SD-WAN is that, this is already up and running, right? So I told you earlier, this is not an SD-WAN deep dive. We're assuming that you're familiar, at least a little bit, with SD-WAN. We're taking you and we're dropping you right into an SD-WAN overlay, and now you're going to actually operate it. And the operations that you're going to do here is build out the overlay into AWS. We're going to use the workflows. We're going to use I don't know if you're familiar with vManage or SD-WAN Manager, but we're going to use the cloud on-ramp for multi-cloud workflow. We're going to add an AWS account. We're going to add all the details it needs. We're going to go into the AWS portal. We're going to subscribe to a Cat 8 KV license. And then we're going to go back to vManage. We're going to spin up a cloud gateway. We're going to add the licenses. We're going to spin up 2 Cat 8 KVs in the cloud and then stand back because it takes a little bit of time. We're going to let those routers build up. We're going to let the VPN tunnels come up, and then we're going to start routing traffic through them. So I mean, some cool labs. I find them pretty cool. So that's what those labs look like for the SD-WAN. And then, like I said, the last track is all about troubleshooting and a bit of diagnostics. So what we do is we kind of rebuild this very quickly, the overlay, the tunnels, the Cat 8 KVs and AWS, and then we break some stuff. Right? We break some stuff, we take a snapshot of that, and then we give you the broken network, and we get you to fix the issues, right? IPsec tunnel is down, routing issue, stuff like that. You can kind of see that we do a few extra things as well, right? So we give you an umbrella account, integrate umbrella, and kind of use that to build out a bit of security into the overlay. We also integrate a bit of Microsoft 365 because we do a bit of SaaS. So we need a Microsoft 365 account, a real one in the cloud, and then we deploy that using the cloud on-ramp for SaaS workflow as well. Guys don't look impressed at all. I told you should have got a beer and come back. Anyways, I'm impressed. I find these labs quite cool. So let me jump into Cisco U. Let me get rid of this. There we go. This should be fun. There you go. So that's Cisco U. And like I said, all I want to do is just quickly for the last couple of minutes show you what the experience looks like. So I've already searched for it. I would have searched for it in the little toolbar up here, ENCC, but I already searched for it and wanted to make sure everything was working for our demo today. This is what the finally someone listened. Cheers, everyone. This is what the experience looks like in ENCC. If you remember a few minutes ago, I said that we had 5 tracks. Here are the tracks. As I said as well, the first one is available for free. Lovely. First one is available for free. I want to jump, let's say, into the SD-WAN one. Okay, so this is the 4th track. And let's go to the first course. So just a little bit of naming, the names that we use in Cisco U. So the entire thing is a learning path. And then we had those tracks, right? The tracks that kind of map to the blueprint domains. And then I blew open a track, and then that was courses in there. All right, those are the names that we're using. So this is the course. This is like the first one in that track, and it kind of gets you going to understand how cloud on-ramp for multi-cloud is deployed in an SD-WAN environment. and I already kind of clicked on the lab, and I'm ready to do the lab. So this is what the lab environment looks like. Where's my mouse? Back here. This is what the lab environment looks like. Has anyone been in Cisco U and done some stuff in there, either a lab or a bit of learning? Hopefully you knew that we had a rev up to recert. So that SDWFND course, that free SD-WAN course, another one that I worked on, is available for free for another 10 days or so. You get 12 CE credits if you want to do that, so you should jump on that. But anyway, so this is what the lab environment looks like. You know, a bit of a scenario, and then you have the different steps to go through, and if you're not too sure how to pull off a step, you've got, you know, guided information about how this all works. But I just want to show you, if I asked you, how long do you think it takes to spin up that lab environment I just showed you? SD-WAN overlay, AWS, that legacy branch, just what are we talking about? Give me a number, please. How long? What was that, sorry? With automation, with automation, yeah. 5 minutes. This gentleman thinks we're going to spin up an SD-WAN overlay, vManage, vSmart, WAN edge routers in 5 minutes. That's very optimistic. Anyone else would like to try? 20 minutes, okay. All right, so that's getting interesting as well. So let's just come back for a second to that free course I just talked about. So if you go on Cisco U right now and you want to learn a bit about SD-WAN and you take that free course, SDWFND, and you spin up one of those labs, that takes about 15 minutes to spin up. It's pretty small, right? There's a couple of branches, a little data center. It's a small piece of what I just showed you, right? So about 15 minutes and it's up and running. I just want to show you how quickly this one spins up. Now, you know I wouldn't do this if it took a long time, right? Lab is ready, it says. Lab is ready. Lab is ready. I didn't even have time to take a sip of my beer. Lab is ready. Okay. Lab is ready. What's going on here? So what's happened is it's giving me access to a bunch of information. So scenario, the topology, job aid, that's like IP addressing. It looks like it's giving me shortcuts to a bunch of devices in the lab. It says I need to click this to open something called the jump host. And then all the instructions are on the side here. Okay, so it can't be ready, right? Like seriously, it can't be ready. What's going on here? We're redirected to a jump host, okay. And I can open a browser. Oh, and there's a little shortcut for vManage here. Oh, what's going on here? That was pretty fast. The labs for this course are always on. There's no wait. You want to do a lab, you've got 15, 20 minutes. You don't have to wait 15, 20 minutes for the lab to spin up. You can just jump into the lab right away. So this is thanks to our, I'll be honest with you, this is thanks to our friends at dCloud. We're leveraging a lot of their infrastructure to pull this off. If you take that free course I was talking about or the specialist SD-WAN training, those labs take about 10, 15 minutes to spin up. It's on an ESXi host, right? Bunch of WAN edge, you know, Catalyst 8KV, vSmart, vBond, vManage, you know, bunch of devices, some PCs. That takes about 15, 20 minutes to spin up. These ones are always on, so I can log into my vManage. I'm almost done. Cool. Oops, that's okay. You can learn the password. It's no problem. It's in the lab. Too stressed out. Try this again. Gonna work this time? There we go. So I've got 5 WAN edge devices. My vManage, my vSmart, my vBond is up and running. This is running 20.12 code, right? The most recent version is 20.13, so this is pretty recent. Now, to come back to the automation thing, I'm glad you mentioned it because obviously some of the labs require a bit of extra automation, right? So the classic example would be the troubleshooting lab. If you remember what I said about the troubleshooting lab is that we're going to spin this all up and then we're going to break it. Well, to break it, we have to automate it. So there are some labs where you log into a portal and you say, okay, prepare lab 6. And then you might have to go make a coffee, maybe grab your lunch. takes maybe 10 minutes or so, spins up what it needs to spin up, breaks it, and then you're ready to go. But there's quite about half of the labs in the course are instant on, and you're up and ready and off and going, basically. So there we go. So listen, out of time. I don't want you to lose your opportunity to have a quick beer with us. I'm around, obviously, the rest of the day and tomorrow. If you have any questions about either of those multi-cloud certifications or the course content, or you just want to kind of poke around to see a little bit more what the course content looked like, we can log into Cisco U on some of those stations, and we can show you what that looks like.
Patrick,
yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Oh, what's up?
One more thing, guys. As Patrick was saying, log into the Cisco U and then the rev up to research. 9 more days.
That's 9, okay.
9 more days, and you're going to have that fundamentals course for the SD-WAN. By the way, SD-WAN is the foundation for the ENCC. So if you do that course, which is absolutely free, you're getting almost like 50% of the ENCC track in pocket, like free. On top of that, you're getting 12 learning credits. 12 CE credits on top of that. So you have 9 more days. And by the way, I'm the one who's teaching the class. You have some videos over there. One more thing. After the 9 days, when they're done, you might be wondering, what should we do to continue with our ENCC? So we have already completed the ENCC training. It's ready. It's live. That guy without hair. Yeah, that's me. I'm growing some hair. But yeah, log in there, ENCC as well on Cisco U. And by the way, every Monday, Cisco U YouTube channel, I have my key point series where I explain lots and lots about ENCC as well. Back there, you guys see that? See that guy? Just look at the back in blue. There. On the screen. Yeah, in blue, key points. Every Monday, ENCC, multi-cloud. Make sure you're not missing. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers, Ahmed.
Patrick.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Have a beer on me.